The last mission, Elira leaned back in her broken pilot seat. Her ship floated in deep space, tired and slow, just like her. Outside the window, stars blinked quietly. Inside the ship, only the soft hum of a dying engine filled the silence. "This is it?" she whispered to herself. "No more battles, no more saving anyone, I am done." For many years, Elira had been a fighter, a smuggler, and sometimes even a hero. But every mission took a piece of her. Now, she just wanted peace. She set her course for home, a small moon far away from wars and cries for help. But the universe had other plans. A sharp beep broke the quiet. Her communication panel lit up, showing a weak signal. Strange. This part of space was supposed to be empty. She almost ignored it, but something made her press the button. A voice, broken and full of fear, came through. "Please, is anyone out there? We need help. Please." Elira sat up straight. It was a human voice. "Humans," she muttered, "always getting into trouble." For a moment, she hovered her finger over the power button, ready to cut the signal. It was not her problem, not anymore. But then the voice spoke again, softer this time. "We are dying and they are hunting us. Now please, help us." Elira closed her eyes. She tried to stay cold, tried to tell herself she didn't care. But the voice was young, desperate, real. "Just one look," she said to herself. "Then I walk away." She sighed and changed her ship's direction, following the faint signal through dark space. As she moved closer, she saw a planet, hidden by dust clouds. It had once been beautiful, green lands, wide oceans. Now, it was a graveyard. Smoke rose from the ground. Cities were broken into pieces, no signs of life, only ruins and fire. "What happened here?" Elira whispered. Her scanner picked up a small group of survivors, hiding near a fallen tower. She zoomed in. They were humans, tired, dirty, afraid. Some were wounded. Others held small children close to their chests. They were not soldiers, they were just people trying to live. "This is a bad idea," Elira said, but she was already locking her ship's landing gear. The ship shook slightly as she touched down near the tower. Dust filled the air. Elira grabbed her old blaster from under the seat. Just in case. The humans ran toward her ship, waving their arms. One of them, a young man with a torn jacket, reached her first. "Thank you," he gasped. "Thank you for coming." "I didn't come to save you," Elira said sharply. "I just came to look." The young man didn't seem to care. Tears ran down his dirty face. Behind him, others gathered, whispering and praying. "Who did this?" she asked. "The Syndicate," he said. "They promised us peace, but they lied. They destroyed everything. They hunt us like animals." Elira frowned. She had heard of the Syndicate, ruthless traitors, killers. They would not stop until every human on this planet was either captured or dead. "Why should I risk my life for you?" she asked. The young man dropped to his knees. "Because we have no one else." Elira turned away, looking at the broken land. Part of her wanted to leave, just fly away and never look back. She owed these people nothing. But deep inside, something old and stubborn woke up. A voice from her past, a voice that once believed in helping others no matter the cost. Before she could decide, her ship's alarm screamed. Danger approaching. In the sky, dark shapes moved fast. Syndicate ships. They had found the survivors. "Damn it," Elira said under her breath. The young man looked up at her with wide, pleading eyes. "Please, we don't want to die." Elira cursed herself. "Get inside, all of you, now." The humans ran into her ship. Elira closed the ramp and rushed to the pilot seat. The ship's engine groaned in protest. It wasn't ready for a quick takeoff. The Syndicate ships grew closer. Their weapons flashed in the sky. Elira gritted her teeth. "Come on, old girl," she said to her ship. "Just one more time." She pushed every button she could, forcing power into the engines. Outside, the Syndicate ships locked their weapons. Elira pulled the control stick hard. Her ship lifted, shaking violently. The first blast missed by inches. The second blast grazed, her wing sending sparks flying. Inside the ship, the humans screamed and held each other tightly. "Hold on!" Elira shouted. The ship shot upward through the smoke and into the clouds. Syndicate ships chased her, firing again and again, but Elira was better. Even with a broken ship, she knew every trick, every move. "You picked the wrong girl to chase," she muttered, twisting the ship sharply. After a few terrifying minutes, she finally broke free from the planet's pull. The Syndicate ships fell behind, unable to follow into deep space. Inside the ship, the humans cried in relief. Some hugged each other. Others simply collapsed to the floor, too tired to even speak. Elira slumped back in her seat, breathing hard. "I must be losing my mind," she said. But deep down, she knew the truth. Her journey was not over. It had just begun. The broken human colony. For hours, Elira's ship floated silently through dark space. Broken metal panels rattled with every small shake. The humans she had rescued sat quietly behind her, too scared to speak, too tired to cry. Elira stared at the cracked screen in front of her. The ship needed repairs. Without them, they wouldn't survive another fight. And worse, they had nowhere to go. "They will track us," Elira thought. "They always do." A blinking light caught her eye. The young man, the same one who had begged for help, stood near the cockpit holding a small device. "We know a place," he said, his voice shaking. Elira turned slowly. "What kind of place?" The young man's hands trembled as he held up the device. A simple map glowed on it. It showed a hidden colony, deep inside the ruins of a nearby planet. "Some of us escaped there weeks ago," he said. "If they are still alive, they can help us." Elira frowned. She didn't like trusting maps from desperate people, but she had no choice. She checked the ship's fuel, just enough for one more jump. "Fine," she said. "One jump. If this is a trap," the young man nodded quickly. "It's not, I swear." Elira sighed and entered the coordinates. The ship shuddered and blinked into hyperspace. The planet was ugly from orbit, covered in endless storms and dark mountains. It looked more like a graveyard than a safe place. Thick clouds rolled across the surface, flashing red and yellow with lightning. "Great," Elira muttered. "Paradise." As they dropped through the atmosphere, the ship rattled so hard it felt like it might break apart. Flames licked the windows. Behind her, the humans clutched each other, whispering prayers. Finally, with a painful groan, the ship slammed down onto cracked ground. Dust exploded into the air, hiding them from view. Elira wiped sweat from her forehead. "Everyone stay here," she ordered. "I'll check first." Grabbing her blaster, she stepped outside. The air smelled of burnt metal and dead earth. Shattered buildings stretched out around her, broken bones of a once living city. No sound except the whisper of the wind. "Where is this colony?" she whispered. Then she saw it, a faint light flickering under a collapsed building. She crept closer, every muscle tense. Suddenly, a figure darted out of the shadows. Elira raised her blaster instantly. "Stop!" The figure froze. It was a young girl, no older than 10. Dirty, thin, her hands held high in fear. "Please," she said in a small voice. "Don't shoot." Behind the girl, more shapes moved. Dozens of humans, hiding in cracks. Behind rocks, under broken machines, they were alive, but only barely. Elira lowered her weapon slowly. A tall woman stepped forward from the group. Her face was hard, her eyes full of fire. "You brought them here," the woman said, pointing at Elira. "The Syndicate will follow you, they always do." "I didn't have a choice," Elira replied. "They were dying." "We are all dying," the woman said coldly. "But now we will die faster." Before Elira could answer, alarms inside the wrecked building began to blare. They had been spotted. In the dark sky above, ships appeared like vultures circling their prey. Syndicate ships. Faster, stronger, better armed. "How did they find us so fast?" someone shouted. Panic broke out. People ran, grabbed, Children hid behind walls. Elira grabbed the young man by the shoulder. "What did you lead me into?" "I didn't know," he cried. "They must have trackers, we didn't check." Elira cursed under her breath. "Idiots." A booming voice echoed from the sky, loud and cruel. "Humans of Sector 9, the voice said. Surrender now. No harm will come to you." Everyone knew it was a lie. Elira's mind raced. They couldn't run, not fast enough. They couldn't fight, not with sticks and old rifles. Unless... She turned to the tall woman. "Is there a way underground?" The woman hesitated, then she nodded. "Old tunnels, from before the fall. Show me." Together, they raced to a broken tower. Behind it, hidden under rubble, was a rusted door half buried, in dirt. Elira and two men pulled it open with all their strength. A foul smell rose up, mold, old blood, and dust. But it was hope. "Go!" Elira shouted to the others. "Move now!" Families rushed toward the tunnel, squeezing through the small opening. Elira stood at the entrance, blaster ready, guarding them. In the sky, syndicate dropships began to land. Black armored soldiers spilled out like angry insects. "Come on, faster!" Elira yelled. A small boy tripped near the door. A soldier raised his weapon to fire. Without thinking, Elira threw herself between them and shot first. The soldier fell, smoke rising from his chest. The humans gasped but kept moving. Elira reloaded quickly. Another soldier charged. She shot again, dropping him cold. "They're coming!" Someone screamed. Elira grabbed the last child and shoved him into the tunnel. She dived after him, pulling the heavy door closed behind. Her just as gunfire slammed against the metal. Darkness swallowed them. Only the sound of their breathing filled the tunnel. "Keep moving," Elira said. "Don't stop." They walked deeper into the earth where no light could follow. Behind them, the syndicate soldiers beat on the door, shouting and cursing. But for now, just for now, they were safe. Or so they thought. Because, deep in the tunnels, something else was waiting. Something much worse than syndicate soldiers. The impossible escape, the tunnel stretched forever into blackness. Every step echoed off the wet stone walls. The air grew colder, thicker, harder. To breathe, humans clung to each other, moving like shadows through a graveyard. Elira led them, blaster in hand, eyes sharp. Every few seconds she looked back, counting the survivors. If they got separated here, no one would find them again. The young man, who had called for help, his name was Galactic, stayed close behind her. He carried a small girl in his arms, her head resting on his shoulder. "Where does this lead?" Elira whispered. The tall woman from the colony, whose name was Mira, answered in a low voice. "Old supply tunnels. There are exits in the mountains, if we are lucky." Elira didn't believe in luck. Not anymore. Behind them, faint banging sounds still echoed. The syndicate soldiers were trying to break through the door. Time was running out. Suddenly, the tunnel split into two paths. One to the left, narrow and broken, the other to the right, wider, but steep. "Which way?" Galactic asked, his voice tight. Mira frowned. "The left path is safer, but slower." Elira listened carefully. In the dark silence, she heard something. Something scraping. From the right tunnel, a chill ran down her spine. "We take the left," she said quickly. No one argued. They squeezed into the narrow path, barely wide enough for one person at a time. Stones scraped against their shoulders. Small children cried softly but were quickly hushed. Then, from the right tunnel, a terrible sound echoed. Screeching. Not metal. Not soldiers. Something alive. Elira froze. The humans froze too. From the shadows, something heavy moved, something that didn't belong in any normal world. "Move!" Elira hissed. They pushed forward faster, stumbling, slipping on the wet floor. Behind them, something growled, low and hungry. Then came the smell, rotting flesh, old blood. Elira risked a glance back. She saw it. A creature, larger than a man, crawling along the walls and ceiling like a spider. Its skin was gray and stretched thin over sharp bones. Its mouth, if it was a mouth, dripped with black slime. "What is that?" Danik gasped. "Not Syndicate," Elira said. "Something worse." "Syndicate experiments," Mira whispered. "They left them behind." When they took the planet, the creature shrieked and launched forward. "Run!" Elira shouted. They ran, through twists and broken tunnels, through collapsed chambers and forgotten storage rooms, but the creature was fast, faster than any of them. It caught a man at the back of the group. His scream ripped through the tunnels. Elira stopped, turned, aimed. 1 shot. 2 shots. The creature fell back for a moment, shrieking. But it wasn't dead. It wasn't even bleeding. "Keep moving," she yelled. Ahead she saw light. Faint, dirty, but real. An old maintenance hatch, half buried under rubble. "There," she pointed. Mira and Danik pulled at the hatch, scraping their hands bloody. The metal door groaned, but stayed. Shut behind them, the creature roared and charged again. Elira emptied her blaster into its body. It slowed, just a little. "Almost there," Danik shouted. The hatch finally gave way, opening into a small shaft leading upward. Outside, the faint glow of a cloudy sky shined down. One by one, the humans scrambled up the shaft. Children first, then the weak, then the stronger ones pushing from below. Elira stood at the bottom guarding the hole. The creature was almost on her. She aimed for its eyes, the only soft-looking part, and fired. The blast hit true. The creature howled, slamming into the tunnel walls, shaking the ground. Broken stones fell from the ceiling. Dust filled the air. "Elira, come!" Danik screamed from above. The tunnel started collapsing. Elira didn't hesitate. She jumped into the shaft, climbing fast, the stones crumbling around her. The creature leapt after her, claws snapping at her boots. At the last second, Danik and Mira grabbed her arms and pulled her out. The hatch slammed shut. A final scream echoed from below, then silence. Elira lay on the ground, gasping for air, feeling the cuts on her hands and legs. Around her, the survivors also lay in the mud, coughing and crying. The world outside was worse than she remembered. Black clouds covered the sky. Broken mountains surrounded them. Syndicate ships buzzed far in the distance, searching. But for now, for a few precious minutes, they were free. "We need to keep moving," Elira said, standing slowly. Danik nodded, his face pale but determined. "Where now?" Mira asked. Elira looked at the dark horizon. Somewhere out there, maybe, there was safety. Or maybe just more death. Either way, they had no choice. "We find shelter," Elira said, "before the Syndicate finds us." As they moved away from the broken shaft, no one saw the small black device blinking under Elira's belt. A tracker, placed there by a human hand. Someone among them was a traitor, and soon. The Syndicate would know exactly where they were. Secrets of the Syndicate. The storm hit harder as Elira and the survivors moved deeper into the broken mountains. Cold rain fell from the dark sky, soaking them to the bone. Every step through the mud was a battle. No one spoke much now. Fear and exhaustion clung to them like heavy chains. Elira led the way, scanning the horizon. Her mind spun with questions she couldn't answer. Why had the Syndicate attacked so fast? How had they found them? And worse, what was that thing in the tunnels? Something was wrong. Something deeper than she could see. Hours later, they found a place to stop. An old bunker half buried under rocks hidden from the sky. Inside, it was cold, dark, and smelled of rust. But it was shelter. Elira set guards at the entrance, then collapsed against the wall, her body aching. Danik came over, sitting next to her. He opened a battered metal box and pulled out some dried food. "Eat," he said, handing her a piece. Elira shook her head. "No hunger." He looked at her carefully. "You saved us." "Not enough," Elira muttered. "Not yet." Danik lowered his voice. "There's something you should know." Elira raised an eyebrow. He leaned closer. "The Syndicate. They're not just hunting survivors. They are building something. Something huge. A weapon. What kind of weapon? Elira asked. Danek's face twisted with fear. A planet burner. Elira stared at him. Planet burners were illegal everywhere, even in the darkest corners of the galaxy. Weapons that could erase entire planets in one shot. Forbidden by every code, every treaty. How do you know? She asked. Danek glanced around, making sure no one else could hear. I used to work for them, he whispered. Before I ran away. Elira felt her stomach twist. He wasn't just a survivor. He was part of the machine that destroyed worlds. Why should I trust you? She asked coldly. Danek's hands trembled. Because if we don't stop them, no one will. Before Elira could answer, a loud crash echoed from the other side of the bunker. Guns were drawn in seconds. Stay here, Elira ordered, moving through the darkness. She found Mira arguing with another survivor, a short man with sharp eyes and quick hands. His name was Lauren. Elira had noticed him before, always staying near the back, always too. Quiet, what's going on? She demanded. Mira pointed at Lauren. He was trying to sneak out. I wasn't, Lauren shouted. I was just checking the perimeter. With this? Mira held up a small black device. A transmitter. Everyone froze. A transmitter could send their location across space in seconds. Elira stepped forward. Where did you get that? Lauren's eyes darted around. I found it, he said quickly. I swear. Lie, Elira said calmly. She could see it in his face. Fear, guilt. The others circled around him, anger building fast. They will come because of him, someone shouted. Kill him, another voice said. Lauren dropped to his knees. Please no, I had no choice. They have my family. Elira narrowed her eyes. Where? Back at the Syndicate base, Lauren cried. They said if I didn't send them updates, they would kill them. Elira's mind raced. It was a trap, a deep one. If they killed Lauren, maybe his family would die. If they kept him, the Syndicate could track them. Either way, they were in terrible danger. Before she could decide, the bunker's alarms began to wail. Outside, Syndicate ships circled above like dark hawks. They had found them. Everyone move, Elira shouted. Now! The survivors scrambled to grab what little they had. Children cried. Old men stumbled. Elira grabbed Lauren by the collar. You stay close to me. Lauren nodded, shaking with fear. They burst out of the bunker, rain slashing their faces. Searchlights from the ships swept the ground. Syndicate soldiers were already dropping. From the sky. Head for the rocks, Mira shouted. They ran, weaving through the jagged mountains, slipping in the mud, dodging blaster fire. Elira fired back when she could, hitting 2 soldiers, but more kept coming. Danek ran beside her, carrying a wounded boy. We're not going to make it, he shouted. We will, Elira snapped. We have to. In the chaos, Lauren tripped, falling hard. The transmitter flew from his pocket, blinking wildly. Elira had a choice. Leave him, slow them down less, save him, risk everything. In a heartbeat, she grabbed his arm and yanked him up. Move, she screamed. They dashed toward a narrow crack. In the rocks, a small cave hidden by heavy vines. Inside they collapsed, gasping for breath. For now they were invisible. But outside, Syndicate soldiers swarmed the mountains, setting traps, blocking every way out. Elira wiped blood from her forehead. We can't stay here, Danek said, voice shaking. We won't, Elira said, mind already racing. We're going to do the last thing they expect. What? Mira asked. Elira looked at each of them, her face hard. We're going to attack them first. The survivors stared at her in shock. They are building a weapon to burn planets, Elira said. If we run, we die later. If we fight, maybe we die now, but we die fighting. Silence filled the cave. Then slowly, one by one, the humans nodded. They would fight. They would become the hunters. Outside, the storm raged harder, and somewhere beyond the black clouds, the Syndicate's greatest secret waited to be destroyed. Betrayal among friends. The cave was cold, wet and full of fear. Illyra sat near the entrance watching the storm outside. Thick clouds rolled over the mountains. Searchlights from syndicate ships cut through the rain like knives. Every few minutes distant blaster shots echoed, reminding them the enemy was everywhere. Inside the cave the survivors rested, but no one truly slept. Illyra's mind raced. They had agreed to fight. But how? They had no army, no ships, no real weapons, only courage and desperation. Mira, Donnick, and a few others gathered around a broken crate, whispering plans. "The syndicate base is close," Mira said. "Maybe 2 days away. We know secret paths through the mountains." "We strike their supply lines first," Donnick added. "Cut off their fuel. Steal their weapons." Illyra nodded. "Hit them hard. Hit them fast, before they even know we're coming." For a moment, a flicker of hope passed between them, but it didn't last, because deep inside the group, danger was growing, and it was wearing a human face. Later that night, when the cave was silent and the others slept, Lauren crept away from the group. Illyra didn't miss it. She moved quietly, following him through the shadows. Her blaster stayed loose in her hand. Loran slipped behind a rock outcropping. He pulled out a small hidden device, another transmitter. Illyra's blood ran cold. He hadn't stopped. Even after everything. He was still working for the syndicate. She stepped out of the darkness, blaster raised. "Drop it," she said. Loran froze. "Please," he whispered. "You don't understand. They have my son. They have my wife." Illyra's finger tightened on the trigger. "You betrayed us once," she said. "You would do it again." Loran dropped to his knees, begging. "Help me, save them, please." Illyra hesitated. She knew what the right thing was. Kill him now before he caused more damage. But she also knew the syndicate was cruel. Maybe he really had no choice. Behind her, footsteps echoed. Donnick and Mira appeared, weapons drawn. "What's happening?" Mira demanded. Illyra didn't take her eyes off Loran. "He's still signaling them," she said. Donnick cursed under his breath. Mira's face hardened. "No more second chances," Mira said coldly. "Not when lives are at stake." Loran sobbed, dropping the device at Illyra's feet. "Please," he whispered. "I just want to see my family again." For a long moment no one moved. Then Illyra spoke. "Tie him up. We need him alive." Mira and Donnick exchanged a look but obeyed. They bound Loran's hands and feet, then locked him inside a small rocky alcove at the back of the cave. But trust was dead now. Even among friends there were cracks. Danger could come from anywhere, even from your own side. The next morning, rain still fell thick and heavy. Illyra gathered the fighters and only about 20 people, tired, hungry, angry. "Today we strike their fuel depot," she said. "Hit fast, no mercy." The plan was simple. Sneak through the mountain passes. Attack the depot at night. Steal what they could. Leave before reinforcements arrived. But plans are just dreams in the face of real danger. They moved through the rocks like ghosts, cold and wet, stepping over old bones and broken machines. The wind howled, carrying their scent away from the syndicate scouts. By nightfall, they reached a ridge overlooking the fuel depot. What they saw made their hearts sink. The depot wasn't just guarded, it was a fortress, armored towers, dozens of soldiers. Heavy cannons aimed at every direction, and in the center, parked like a sleeping monster, a syndicate command ship, black and sharp, its engines glowing softly. Illyra felt Donnick tense beside her. "This wasn't supposed to be here," he whispered. "They're preparing for something," Mira said grimly. "The planet burner must be close." Illyra studied the depot carefully. They could run, hide in the mountains again, live a little longer, or they could strike now and maybe stop a weapon that could destroy entire worlds. "We go," she said. The others nodded, though fear shined in their eyes. As they prepared for the attack, Illyra's hand brushed her belt. Something was missing. Her emergency beacon, small, hidden, was gone. She froze. Someone had stolen it. Someone was planning something. Behind her, hidden among the rocks, a small red light blinked once, twice, sending a silent call into the dark. The syndicate was coming, and this time, they would not leave survivors. Fight for the future. The mountain winds howled like dying beasts. Rain slammed into the rocks. Darkness covered the world like a thick blanket. High above the fuel depot, Elira watched the syndicate soldiers move in tight, sharp lines. Patrols circled the towers. Spotlights swept the ground. No weakness, no mercy. Elira felt it deep in her bones. This would not be a clean fight. This would be survival. "Everyone ready?" she whispered. Around her, the fighters nodded. Danek, Mira, a handful of brave survivors who had nothing left to lose. Even tied-up Lauren sat nearby, silent, his face filled with fear and guilt. The plan was simple. Sneak in, plant charges on the fuel tanks, blow the depot sky high, cause enough chaos to escape. Simple. But simple didn't mean easy. Elira pulled out a small, cracked photo from her pocket. A picture of her old crew, long dead now. Friends she had lost to other wars. She kissed the photo once, tucked it away, and stood. "Move," she ordered. They slipped down the ridge like shadows. The first part went smooth. They cut through the outer fence with old tools. The rain covered the sounds. They crept behind fuel trucks, hiding in the dark. Danek and two others planted small charges under the tanks. Tiny red lights blinked quietly, counting down. Elira and Mira moved toward the command ship, hoping to find codes, maps, anything they could steal. Every second felt like walking a wire over fire. Then it happened. A child cried out. One of the smallest survivors, hiding under a tarp, slipped and fell hard against a metal drum. Clang. The sound rang out like a gunshot. Instantly, alarms screamed. Spotlights blazed across the depot. Soldiers shouted. "They're here!" Blaster fire erupted, wild and deadly. Elira grabbed the child and shoved him toward Danek. "Run! Get to the mountains!" The survivors scattered, trying to reach the shadows again. But the syndicate was faster. Troopers closed in from every side. Elira fired back, hitting two soldiers before ducking behind a crate. "Plant the rest of the charges!" she screamed. Danek gave her a desperate nod and disappeared into the smoke. Mira covered the retreat, picking off soldiers with clean, cold shots. "They're cutting us off!" someone shouted. Elira's heart pounded. This was turning into a slaughter. She spotted Lauren, the betrayer, crawling toward the command ship, still tied at the wrists, but moving fast. What was he doing? Elira followed, weaving through gunfire. Lauren reached the command ship's lower hatch. Somehow he still had a security code. The door blinked open. Before Elira could reach him, he disappeared inside. Elira cursed and sprinted after him. Inside the ship, red lights flashed. Sirens screamed. Elira caught up to Lauren near the control panel. "What are you doing?" she shouted over the noise. Lauren looked back at her, tears in his eyes. "I'm ending it," he said. With a shaking hand, he slammed a button marked Core Overload. Elira's eyes widened. Lauren had started the ship's self-destruction sequence. A timer flashed on the screen. 2 minutes 59 seconds and counting down. "You'll die," Elira shouted. Lauren smiled weakly. "Better than living as a traitor." Before Elira could stop him, he locked the panel with a blood code, his own. Only he could cancel it now. And he was not going to. Outside, the depot shook as the charges under the fuel tanks began to detonate. Fire exploded into the sky. Soldiers screamed. The ground cracked open under the heat. Elira ran from the ship, the blast doors slamming shut behind her. She didn't look back. She couldn't. Laurent had made his choice. She had to save the others. The battlefield was chaos. Flaming fuel spilled across the ground. Supply trucks burned. Syndicate soldiers scattered. Like ants. Through the smoke, Elira saw Danek waving her toward a broken fence. "This way!" he shouted. Mira helped drag wounded survivors, pulling them through the wreckage. The ground rumbled under their feet. Minute 10 seconds left. Syndicate commanders screamed orders. Alira led her people toward the rocks, pushing, pulling, forcing them to run even when their legs barely worked. Blaster bolts zipped past her ears. She fired back without thinking. Then she felt something, a sharp burn across her side. She was hit. But there was no time to fall. No time to cry. No time to bleed. Keep moving, she roared. They reached the outer hills just as the timer hit the final seconds. Alira turned once, just once, to see the command ship's engines glow brighter, hotter. Then the world turned white. The explosion swallowed the depot in a roar, so loud it seemed to tear the sky itself. Fire rolled over the mountains. Syndicate soldiers and metal towers vanished in a wave of death. The ground shook so hard Alira fell to her knees. Then, silence. Only rain, falling gently now, as if the storm itself had finally cried itself dry. Hours later, the survivors lay hidden deep in the rocks. They had lost people. They had lost almost everything, but they had won a small victory. Alira sat alone, wrapping a torn bandage around her side. Danik approached, carrying a small package he had grabbed. During the chaos, a data core from the command ship, inside it maybe, were secrets, plans, maps, a way to finally end the syndicate. "You saved us," Danik said quietly. Alira shook her head. Not yet. Because she knew one thing. This was just a battle. The real war had only just begun. And somewhere, deep inside the syndicate's hidden base, the planet burner was almost ready, waiting for the final command, waiting to erase everything she had fought to protect. A new beginning. The rain stopped. For the first time in days, the sky above the broken mountains cleared, showing a deep red sunrise. Light touched the dead earth carefully, like it was afraid to wake old ghosts. Alira stood on a cliff, the wind pulling at her torn jacket. Behind her, the survivors rested, too tired to speak, too broken to hope. But hope was not dead. Not yet. In her hand, she held the stolen data core, warm, pulsing, full of stolen secrets. Danik stood beside her, silent. "What did we get?" she asked. He plugged the core into a small reader, broken wires sparking as it powered up. Maps appeared in the air, glowing blue lines crisscrossing the ruined world. At the center, deep under the Syndicate's largest fortress, was the weapon, the planet burner, and worse, a timer. There were hours left until activation. After that, nothing would survive. Not this world. Not the survivors. Not the future. They mean to erase everything, Danik said, voice shaking. Alira nodded, feeling the weight of the moment settle on her shoulders like armor. "Then we stopped them," she said. The journey to the fortress was pure nightmare. Broken cities stretched across the land, blackened skeletons of metal and stone. Old battlefields still burned. Syndicate drones floated overhead, hunting for anything that moved. Alira led the survivors through the ruins, dodging patrols, sleeping in dark holes, moving only when the sky was covered in thick clouds. Each hour, the timer ticked lower. Hours left. And hours left. They lost 2 more people crossing a minefield. Lost another during a drone sweep. Every loss carved deeper scars inside Alira's heart. But she kept going, because she had to. Because if she didn't, there would be nothing left to save. Finally, they reached the edge of the Syndicate fortress. It was not a castle. It was a monster. Walls 3 stories high, bristling with guns and electric fences. Watchtowers at every corner. Flying drones patrolling the air. And at the heart, buried under layers of stone and steel. The planet burner. Alira studied the fortress with cold eyes. "There's no way in," Mira said, voice full of defeat. Alira shook her head. "There's always a way," she said. She pointed to a half-broken sewer line under the wall. Old. Forgotten. Dangerous. "We go through there." The plan was madness. But madness was all they had left. The tunnel was dark, narrow, and filled with toxic water. The air was so bad it burned their lungs. They crawled for what felt like miles, fighting every breath. Behind them, Danik carried the charges. Old explosives, barely, working but still deadly. Finally, they reached a broken maintenance shaft under the fortress. Elira looked up. The planet burner's core was only meters above them. But so were Syndicate guards. Elite soldiers in black armor, faces hidden behind metal masks. This was it. The last fight. No second chances. No mercy, Elira gave the signal. They burst from the shaft, guns blazing. Blaster fire tore through the air. The Syndicate soldiers reacted fast, forming tight walls of shields, returning deadly fire. Danik was hit in the shoulder but kept moving. Mira took down 2 guards before falling back behind cover. Elira moved like a storm, every step driven by fury and purpose. They reached the control room, a giant space filled with glowing screens and humming machines. In the center stood the core, a swirling mass of energy, contained inside a crystal sphere pulsing faster and faster. The final countdown flashed above it. Minutes, 30 seconds. Elira raced to the controls. You stop it? Danik shouted over the gunfire. Elira's hands flew across the panel. The system fought back. Layers of codes, traps, locks, but she was faster, smarter, more desperate. Almost, she gritted out. Then, a sharp beep, a final lock, a choice. The planet burner could be stopped, but only if someone stayed behind to manually hold the override. There was no remote shutdown. Someone had to die here. Holding the line, Elira stared at the screen, then at Danik, then at the tired, broken survivors, waiting outside the fortress walls praying for a chance to live. She made her choice. You go, she said to Danik, tossing him the stolen core. No, Danik said, horror in his voice. You can't. I can, Elira said. I must. Danik's hands trembled. We can find another way. There is no other way, Elira said softly. You said it yourself. They need a future. Tears filled Danik's eyes. He nodded once hard, then ran, taking the core with him. Elira smiled bitterly. Guess my journey wasn't over after all, she whispered. The planet burner's pulse reached a fever pitch. Guards stormed into the room, blasters raised. Elira stood between them and the controls, blaster ready, heart steady. Come and get me, she growled. The final battle began. Outside, from the distant mountains, the survivors watched. First there was fire, then thunder, then silence. The fortress crumbled like dust under a rising sun. The Syndicate's greatest weapon gone. The world saved. But Elira did not come back. She became part of the wind, the rain, the sky. A legend. A reminder. One life could change the future, and somewhere, far across the stars, a new generation would rise, whispering her name in stories. Elira, the one who stayed, the one who fought, the one who chose to save the future, even when it cost everything. The end.